I'm gonna tell you how I grow plants in LECA, from the stuff that I use to how I transition a plant from soil to LECA, to the transition period and beyond. The video is divided in 5 parts and I'm gonna put timestamps below. Here's a philodendron growing in LECA. The outer pot serves as a reservoir, so it has no drainage. It contains the nutrient solution that's feeding the plant. Inside is a pot with drainage that can be a nursery pot or a mesh pot, whatever you prefer. And inside is the LECA with the plant. In your reservoir, the nutrient solution should come up to about 1/3 of the height of this pot. As the plant uses the nutrient solution, the level is going to go down and you're going to top up the level, but not with nutrient solution. What you're going to use is pH adjusted water. Then every few weeks you have your flush day. On your flush day, what happens is you take the inner pot out, you dump the old nutrient solution, you put the inner pot in the sink, and you flush the LECA with tepid water from the tap. I'll take advantage of the flush day to also clean the leaves while the plant is in the sink. Then you're gonna clean your cover pot, put fresh nutrient solution in it, and you're done. I flush every 2 to 4 weeks. I aim for 2 weeks, but sometimes I'm a little bit lazy. I let it go to 4 weeks. Here's the products that I use, guys. So first, LECA, obviously. So the LECA, when you get it, it's gonna be really dusty, so you're gonna have to rinse it until the water comes out clear. It's not recommended to do that inside your house because the sludge, like the clay sludge, is not good for your pipes. So what I do is I put it in a bucket outside in batches and I stir it around with water and then put a strainer on top of the bucket and dump the water out. And I repeat that many times until the water comes out clear. And then after that, I'm gonna soak it for 48 hours or sometimes 3 weeks if I forget about it. Soak it and then after that, rinse it again. If you're gonna store it, you're gonna want to let it dry, but when you go to use it, you need to soak it again. At least that's what I do. I know that not everybody soak their LECA. Distilled water. Some people use tap water, some people use filtered water. I use distilled water because I find it gives me a better control over the pH of my solution. Then you have your nutrients. This comes as a kit of 3, Flora Micro, Flora Grow, and Flora Bloom. You can get this, I suppose, in hydroponics store. I get it from Amazon. Super Thrive. This is completely optional. Many people use it. Many people love it. Nobody knows what's in it. It's a mystery. In Canada, we get that from Canadian Tire. In the States, I think Walmart tends to have that. A hydroponics store probably have that, and probably garden centers as well, I would expect. Then you need something to measure pH. So this is an electronic pH meter. I use this because I don't have any patience for strips or pH testing kits and such, so that's what I use. And then you have your pH adjusting solution. pH up if you need to bring your pH higher, and pH down if you need to bring your pH lower. Okay, so now how I make the nutrient solution. I'm gonna put the recipe somewhere on the screen and somewhere below. What is the most important is that Flora Micro has to be the first thing to go in the jug after the water, but always put this in first. So put your Flora Micro, give a good shake, then you can add your other 2 nutrients, your Super Thrive, shake everything really well again, and then check the pH. The ideal pH for optimal nutrient absorption from plants is 5.5 to 6.5. I try to make my solution more like a 5 because I've noticed that after it's in contact with LECA, the pH rises pretty quickly. Now, the effect of LECA on the pH of water or nutrient solution is a little controversial. It made the rounds in the orchid community a while ago. You'll find some people on YouTube telling you LECA does not affect pH whatsoever, and then you're gonna have other people telling you that it does affect the pH. And honestly, I think it probably depends on the LECA that you use, like the brand, even probably the batch, maybe other factors. But I have checked it in my house, in my conditions, with the LECA that I'm using. The pH within 24 hours is like above 7. So it doesn't seem to be affecting my plants, but it's definitely happening. When you use these solutions to adjust the pH, you have to be very careful because a little goes a long way. So you don't start with adding more than half or 1 ml per gallon. Add a little bit, recheck your pH, add a little more if needed until you get to the pH that you want. Once your nutrients are in, your supertribe is in, your pH is adjusted, your nutrient solution is done, then I store it in a dark place so that algae doesn't grow in it, and that's it. For top-up water, I use distilled water and I adjust the pH the same way that I did for the nutrient solution. Part 4, the exciting part, is transferring a plant from soil to LECA. So the first thing you do is you take the plant out of the pot, you remove as much of the potting mix from the roots as you can. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult. Sometimes I let the root balls soak in water for a few hours to loosen the soil, and it usually helps. After that, I take the plant to the sink and I wash the roots really well. You don't want any potting mix left on the roots because that could cause root rot. Okay, so now we have our plant with the roots washed. We're gonna take our nursery pot or mesh pot, whatever, the pot that has drainage. And then I'm gonna put LECA to about 1/3 of the height. And then put the nursery pot in the reservoir or cover pot or cache pot and put enough water so that you start to see it. That's it. And then I remove the nursery pot. And this is going to be my water level. So I want to mark this inside the pot. So usually what I do is I take the tip of a screw or whatever else sharp that you have laying around and mark the inside of the pot at the water level. All right, then I'm going to change the angle of the camera for the potting. Okay, now I'm going to put the plant in the pot on top of the layer of LECA, and I'm going to spread the roots in there because I want LECA in between the roots. There. So I hold it in place, and then I'm going to add LECA to cover the roots. You shake the pot. It helps the LECA go in between the roots. There you go. So she's potted. Perfect. If the LECA is not wet, take it to the sink and make sure that the LECA is all nice and wet. And then you can put it in its cover pot and voila. After the transfer, I flush the plant once a week until I feel like it's well established. To me, the best sign of a plant being established is new growth on a regular basis. I would say that usually it's 1 to 2 months. Every time I flush the plant during the transition period, I'm gonna gradually modify the content of the reservoir. So I start with just tap water, and then I'm gonna gradually mix in pH adjusted water and then nutrient solution. Once the plant is fully transitioned to nutrient water and it's pushing growth on a regular basis, then I go to the regular schedule of flushing every couple weeks and topping up with pH adjusted water as needed in between. Some people add supertribe right from the beginning. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I haven't really kept a record, so I can't tell you if it helps or not. Some people like to check the roots during the transition period. I personally avoid doing that because in my experience, plants do better if you don't disturb them too much. If you do check the roots, you're gonna notice that some roots are brown, mushy, like they're rotting basically. Don't panic, it's normal. You're gonna lose some roots during the transition, they're gonna shed, and that's fine. As long as your plant is growing new roots and is otherwise doing fine. So that's how I do semi-hydroponics, guys. If you have any questions that I didn't answer today, leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them if I can. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye!